All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see in the title, how to have better movement in Tarkov. Just to explain a little bit, this video is just going to be a real quick one on how to move in and out of combat to better lengthen your raids and also up your survival rate. Because honestly, I see a lot of people just either crouch walking around the whole map, which is you're not going to cover a lot of ground, you're not going to get a lot of loot, it's not going to be a beneficial raid. And I see too many people just W keying through the map and dying, and just even in and out of combat, not knowing what to do and stuff. So this video here is just a little bit to help you how to move out of combat, how to move while in combat, so you don't die as much, or as out of combat you can progress your raid and actually get places and loot and stuff like that and get things done. But further ado, let's just jump straight into it. All right, so out of combat first, we're just going to go over a couple things. Especially out of combat, knowing when to run and knowing when to play slow is very key in this game. You don't always want to run at any time out of raid, because you're easy to hear, your footsteps are loud depending on what you're running over and stuff like that. But especially when you're out of combat, running from cover to cover, if you're covering a lot of ground that's open that doesn't have a lot of cover, running is always the best thing to do. You want to close the gap between you and the cover, or you and the building, or you and the enemy, because you don't want to be out in the open just slow walking trying to play sound. Because honestly, you want to have cover at all times. You want to either hug a wall, you want to hug a building, or any kind of cover, so you don't have to cover every single angle. You want to minimize the amount of angles you have to watch, especially when you're looting or moving or running around outside of combat. And you don't want to be seen. You don't want to skylight yourself. You want to run in low terrain, stuff like that. You want to run under people's sight lines and stuff, either through buildings or around bushes or around trees and stuff like that. Do not hit trees, by the way, or bushes, because they will stop you in your tracks and they will get you killed. But you want to move quick, win out in the open from cover to cover and stuff like that. Move slow while in buildings and stuff like that. Not saying like creep walk in buildings or anything. I'm just saying move slower in buildings. Don't run around the buildings to run to all the loot spots, unless you're 100% sure that nobody's in that building, which you're never 100% sure, in my opinion. But only in certain circumstances you can run. But don't W key, shift W key through buildings, because it'll get you killed. Because once you're in that building, every move you make in that building, it's so easy for people to hear on the inside. And if some people start moving up and they hear you running on the inside of the building, it's easier for them to hear you. Walking in buildings, just walking between rooms, walking between looting stuff, it's perfect. You don't want to run because it'll give away your position. Move cautiously around choke points and POIs. Especially this varies map to map. Just don't don't W key through choke points. Like, I think some of the best ones I can think of are like like elbow area right there by Crack House, the little alleyway between old construction and Crack House. You don't want to run through there, because honestly you're just going to run right into barrels or a choke point, or like either running through doors, unless like you have alternate routes and stuff like that. You don't want to run through POIs or choke points, because for one, if it's a POI like fort and stuff, you don't want to run up because people hear you, stuff like that. You don't want to run through just any kind of thing that pigeonholes you into a single area, because you'll be easier to hear, easier to shoot, and all that stuff. So just honestly, when you're outside of combat and you're moving around, try to stay away from choke points. And if you're going to go to POIs, try to run to it. But when you start to get close, kind of walk a little bit so you can hear, stuff like that. You don't always want to be running. I guess that's the preface of the out of combat, that you don't always want to be running, especially when moving around where players will be. As I said before, don't hit bushes, or especially a little bit deeper than that. Watch what you're stepping on. Don't step on. Watch if you're walking on broken glass, metal, wood, water, like anything that like is not normally grass. Even grass is loud, but like stepping on broken glass is very loud and it's very distinct. And if people know where broken glass is, especially in like places like interchange and stuff like that, there's a lot of broken glass, and people can pinpoint it pretty easy where you're at, especially metal too. And this goes for another thing too, like if you know where things are, like you hear people walking on metal and you know where metal's at in the building or all that stuff, it'll help you out. But try to avoid walking on metal and glass and all that stuff, unless you have to. I mean, this is all if you can avoid it. Don't walk on it if you don't have to, but just be mindful of what you're stepping on and where you're walking and stuff, because different things, like different surfaces, make your footsteps louder. But just keep that in mind, guys, and I think you'll be all right. Just move a little bit more silently through everything, especially on grass and stuff. Okay, so next up, in combat, just play slower. Playing slow and methodical in combat, just it's a different kind of game for people. So some people like the W key, some people like to play slow. For me, I'm kind of a mixed bag. I like playing both. I like playing slow and I like playing fast. You want to play slow and methodical early in a fight if they don't know where you're at, or you're running up to someone, you hear somebody. You want to gain all the information as possible, and just don't run down a barrel or just give away your position if they don't know you're there, and you playing slow and gaining all the information about him. Maybe there's two of them, or you get all the information you need. Then you can play explosive, because you'll have all of the intel you need to kill everybody. You'll know where they're at, what they're doing, everything. So that's kind of like how I play Tarkov. I mean, so be it. If I need to run, if I need to move fast in a gunfight, if I know the first thing I need to do is reposition and just catch people off guard. Sometimes teams won't be thinking that, oh man, they see you and you shoot one, maybe drop him, start running instantly. Don't wait, don't hold corners or anything. Just run, reposition, move around, because a lot of the times I've noticed that players will wait for the other person to make the next move, so everybody's stalemate at just holding angles, or like just sitting in a corner or sitting somewhere and just waiting to hear something. So I think the most disorienting thing that I've heard from new players, and a lot of players, not necessarily seasoned players because they're used to it, but it's just like when somebody's moving around a lot in a gunfight, it's hard to keep track of exactly where they're at. So I would say kind of use your intuition to think what you might do, but playing slow is not a bad thing to do in Tarkov, especially when you're in combat. So just keep that in mind. Play slow, gain all your information you need, and then be explosive and move around and run. They won't expect you to move fast and be so calculated with when you're running and when you're not. It'll throw certain people off. Like I said in my other video, shoot and move. Never shoot from the same place twice. Never do that. Never re-peek the same angle. If you don't kill somebody on that angle, even if you do, don't re-peek that angle unless you absolutely have to. And even then, I wouldn't. I'd run across back and forth through the doors. Like when you're in combat, a good tip for when you're in combat and you're playing in a building or with doors, run back and forth across the door to get them to take pot shots at you. That'll let you know how good of a shot they are, for one. Two, how many people are there. And three, if you have enough time to escape the door and shoot at them or whatever. Or it gives you a lot more things to play with if you get them to start shooting at you. They'll start to get antsy. They'll start missing their shots. Stuff like that. That's a good tip. But again, never re-peek the same angle twice, because it's so easy. If somebody peeks me, I see them shoot my boy, and I know exactly where they shot him from. He doesn't even call it out. My sight instantly goes to the door, and if he peeks, he dies instantly. So remember that. Never re-peek the same angle twice. Always mix up your angles. Always mix up sides of the doors and stuff like that. But speaking on different sides of doors, never, ever do left-hand peeks in the game. How the game works, pro tip for people who don't play Tarkov a lot and wonder why you die when you left-hand peek or when you're peeking sometimes. Left-hand peeks are always at a disadvantage just because of the way the player models are set up in the game. Your body will be seen through the door or the wall or whatever you're peeking around from the left side of it. Your body will be seen to the player before you see the player. So they can start shooting at you before you see them on your screen, just by the way the player models and the vision line is set up on players. You're at a disadvantage. So if you're going to peek an angle, always make it a right angle peek. Make sure you're always peeking on your dominant side with the gun, because you'll be at an advantage. Or you're not going to be an advantage. It just won't put you at a disadvantage. You'll be able to see the character and get your gun up on him first. And he might be holding a left, like a left leaning angle. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So just keep that in mind when you're peeking people in combat. just never do left hand peeks, because they will get you killed 100% of the time. You'll be wondering how he saw you, or you didn't see him, or something like that, how he got the jump on you faster, stuff like that. Just never left hand peek. Run across back and forth the door to get on the right side, or whatever you have to do, just do that. But yeah, guys, these are just a couple things I can think of off the top of my head. I had somebody ask me about this, so I thought I'd make a video about it just to help out for whoever's having trouble with these things. I know movement out of combat is kind of an obvious thing. I just feel like some people just don't pay attention to their surroundings. They don't actually start paying attention of how they're moving around until they're in a gunfight, or until it matters. You know what I mean? If you're playing smart and being quiet and like reducing your sound footprint and all that stuff, before you get into the gunfights, you might not ever even get into them, because people won't know you're there, and then you'll walk up on people or surprise people and stuff like that. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. In combat, I feel like some people are just kind of, they don't know what to do. They either get very tunnel visioned into holding an angle and not moving and just hoping people run out in front of them, or they just want to be landmark or hyper rat and just W key into bullets and die and wonder why it doesn't work for them. So it's like, I think everybody could say that the best play style for Tarkov is a mix of both, playing slow and playing fast. I think the best thing is playing slow to gain all the information you can, and then be explosive with that information. So just keep that in mind. But if you find any of these tips helpful, let me know in the comments. And if you think of any tips that help you or your friends, or anything you've seen, let me know in the comments. Come to my stream. Link in the description. We'll have a chat about it. We can talk about it. I try to get to everybody in the comments, and I appreciate everybody commenting and supporting the videos lately. Yeah, guys, I appreciate whoever stuck to the end of the video, and I think that's it, guys. I hope you guys have a good whatever day you're watching this, and I will see y'all in the next one. All right, peace.